Hello, my name is Ilona, and in this video I want to talk about energy. And it's very important because if you understand your own energy and how you can work with your energy, you'll be able to manifest what you truly want. The dark energies have been working with our energy for, well, centuries. They've been purposely programming us. It's just our educational system. Look at our news. It's mostly just negative, fear, mongering. It's all focused on keeping us on a low vibration with the idea that we need insurances outside of ourselves, safety outside of ourselves. We need money to feel safe. It needs to be put on the bank. We need insurances to make sure if something happens, we have an insurance for that. It's all focused on things outside of ourselves, like we can feel safe within ourselves. We need all these things outside of ourselves. And by focusing outside of ourselves, that ultimately is what they need to get the energy moving. And they also use all these rituals. Look at when the Olympic Games, the opening of the Olympic Games, look at all these concerts. They are all sort of ritualistic in nature, and there are all kinds of ways that they show where they want us to go, where they want to focus us on. And mostly when people are not aware, like I've mentioned in another video, that self-reflection or self-awareness is so important to grow spiritually. But they purposely make sure that people don't look at themselves, don't question themselves, but are focused with the outside world, because in that way they'll be able to use that energy to create their world, their agendas. And if you look at like on the city council level with the 15-minute cities here, at least here in the Netherlands, in other countries as well, what happened the past 5 years, the thing that went around, how many agencies, how many governments just stepped up and started pushing all these rules, when really when you look at it now, you're like, why did this happen? There are a lot of people focused on following that agenda, even when they are not aware of it, even when they think they're doing something good, like they're protecting people and it's the safety for other people, and you need to do these things in front of your mouth because that will somehow help something, when really it's not. But if you try to argue with them, then you really are hitting them in that safety zone. They want to feel safe, so you have to follow those orders as well. And there is apparently not at that moment in time enough critical thinking to really think things through or look at themselves. And that's really the sad part of it. And that's what the dark energy's been doing for so long. They wanted to create a certain lifestyle, a certain way of living, a certain, I've mentioned this before and other people as well, that transhumanism is the end stage of that. They want to combine humans with technology so they'll be able to control everything. So it has, if you look at the Borg from Star Trek, that's pretty much where they want to end up, or at least where they want humanity to end up, so they can handle our energy without really that we don't have anything to say about it anymore. And we've completely taken over, they've taken over our minds, our way of thinking, how we handle things. So purposely they're doing all these things to keep us on a low frequency. So how can you handle your own energies? Well, look at your life. Of course, first thing that comes in is, of course, self-reflection. Yeah, self-awareness would be a better word, I think. Reflecting on yourself, but aware, like, what is going on in my life? Who am I talking to? Who are the people that I'm surrounding myself with in my work or, the daily life? Where am I focusing on? How am I treating my body? How am I treating myself? What is my inner dialogue towards myself if I make a mistake? Am I kind to myself, or do I, really bring myself down? What is going on? What is my energy focused on? And it's very important to look at that, because that is what you're manifesting. We are manifesting one way or another, because that's what we are. But most of us are not aware that we are manifesting, and that what we see around us, that we are actually helping along by focusing on fear or focusing, it's taking so long, frustration, anger, and irritation, then that, of course, is going to be your timeline. You're going to create more of that because that's what you're focused on. That's what your energy focused on. And people really need to start understanding that is the focus of what happens with your energy. And How can you step out of it? Well, first of all, you need to be aware of it. That's what you're doing, and then making different choices. But also look inside of yourself. Why am I surrounded by certain people? Maybe you talk a lot with people that bring you down or bring your energy down. Why is that? What is the pattern behind that? That, of course, is shadow work. Certain things inside of yourself, certain how you were brought up, certain patterns that you may brought along from your youth or maybe from past lifetimes, but that is now being put into motion with everyone around you, the situations you attract. Very important to start dealing with that, with the shadow work. Also important, and I'm probably going to do another video about that, how to balance that in the right order, is also light work. Just shadow work, light work. That there are a lot of people that are completely focused on shadow work. And if you are completely focused on, I need to fix myself, there is something wrong with me, then of course you're also going to remain in that there's always something else you need to fix and you're never going to get out of there. That's why light work is so important as well. What do you enjoy? What makes you feel good, and how can you treat yourself better and maybe take better care of yourself? So it's very important to balance that. And to see in what process you are and what in the step of the process. Maybe it's better to focus on shadow work, or maybe it is better to focus on more light work. Like I mentioned, I'm probably going to do another video about that. But it's very important to work with your own energy. Focus on what you're thinking about, what you're focusing about. What do you read? Are you always focused on all these news articles? Like I've mentioned, I've stepped away from that because really it was dragging my energy down, and I've noticed now how much freer I feel and how much space there is created. And then of course you can create other things because you create space for yourself. So maybe there are things you want to step away from. You want to look at things differently. Maybe there are certain behaviors or addictions or things like that that you really need to let go of. That maybe there's certain things you're still numbing in yourself. That's something very personal. I found out that there's still some things that I don't want to connect with in myself. Of course, if you don't connect with yourself, then of course you can truly connect with the world around you, and you will create this disconnectedness in your life. So it's very important to look at your energy. Where are you focused on? What are you doing in your life? How are you feeling about that? And are there things you can do to really change that now and to put things into motion? And of course, take your time with that. Be mild, in a way. Just be gentle with yourself. That's probably the best. In Dutch, it would be mild. And be gentle. Be kind to yourself. So don't break yourself or tear yourself down because you're not going fast enough or you're not doing the steps. Or this isn't about showing willpower or determination in that way. This is about a gentle way dealing with yourself, but taking the steps forward. Sometimes it is important to have certain determination. There's some things you need to change in your life concerning maybe your health or how you deal with yourself or how you feed yourself or something like that. Then of course it is important to be determined and to take a different route, different direction. And sometimes, especially with emotional things, very painful emotions or painful memories, take your time with that, because that's not like a linear process that you just go through it, you feel through it, and then it's over. That can take time, and there can be like layers underneath it, and that needs attention as well. So your energy is the most important thing to deal with and to handle if you want to change your life. Because if you change your energy, you will change what's happening around you. And then you start manifesting and growing and stepping into your power and really doing what you want to do. So that's very important to understand that you have it in your own hands, and that's the beauty of it. And also in this way, for a lot of people that can be very fearful because you could mess it up. Of course, we can all mess it up, but we can also learn from it and then change things along the line, because along the road that we're taking, because it is a process and you learn every time. And sometimes you have like a detour, you're like, why did I end up in there? That's okay, you learn from it and then move on. So I also did a card reading. I did that in the Shuffle the Cards in my Dutch video. How to connect with your energies and what is the most important thing to do right now. And this was the interesting card. The first card I've got was the Ace of Cups, which is of course about connecting with your emotions, connecting with your feelings, with your intuition. And of course, the most important thing is to connect with yourself. If you're not connected with yourself, the energy will, your focus will be outside of yourself. And that's where your energy will go. And then of course, it will create where you are focused on. The second card I've got is the Page of Swords. And the third one is Temperance. And this is really about what I was talking about, the balance. Temperance is, of course, also in the Rider-Waite, the angel that has 1 foot on the water and 1 foot on the ground. It's about balancing things. And the Page of Swords is about being curious, really opening yourself up for connection with yourself. Because the more connected you are with yourself, the more connected you will see the connectedness in your life. And the more you feel aware of it. So that's why it's important to focus on, also gratitude, because the more grateful you are, the more you will draw in that frequency. But be curious also about the parts that you don't want to look into, the parts you prefer to move away from or to just numb them. Those are the parts that really truly need to be seen, and you need to get curious about that, because that's what the Great Awakening is about, that we start working with our own energies and start manifesting the life that we truly want. Hope to see you in another video. Bye.